I think we serve as a facilitation organization where we partner with designers, international partners, and try to promote their brands and grow their businesses. I think the bigger focus of what we do is on entrepreneurial development of designers in the Western Cape.
This year's Fashion Week, can we expect anything new?
It's always a new. I think it's in its 10th year this year, and I think the big and better things are to come. And I think this year, I think to look at, there's a big focus on emerging talent, which is what our focus is. Our show, which is 5 designers that are going to be showing in there. A lot of the focus is on fresh new talent, and I think that's where the big focus needs to be.
You also touched on developing a business and retail platform at the Cape Town Fashion Week. Can you give us more detail on this?
Look, there's a place for fashion weeks everywhere around the world, and I think that's a critical part to promote brands. I think that needs to be balanced in some kind of way with the retail base, where designers can retail rather than just show. I think it becomes a little bit more interactive for the designer to be able to speak to their clients and to speak to the client base. I did mention Design Indaba as a project that we worked on, and I think that the Design Indaba project, the designers retailed about 320,000 rands just on the 3 days. That's excluding the sales that they've got post that.
You talked about skills development.
Yes.
What does the Cape Town Fashion Week mean for young designers here in South Africa?
I think with the fast track program that's being introduced, it's not being introduced, it's been for the past 2 years now. And a big part of that is on development and academic development as well. I think there are lots of key stakeholders and key role players that will be presenting to young designers, graduate designers. I think a lot of the skills development on that angle as well is done by the Cape Town Fashion Council. We tend to do a lot of development programs for designers.
The Cape Town Fashion Council has a lot to do with skills development, scholarships and business support. Can you give us more detail on this and some of the key programs that the CTFC have done in terms of promoting the industry?
We're currently working on a huge competitiveness program which is being funded by the IDC. The budgets have been approved. It's a 3-year rolling plan. We're looking at having 25 designers basically on the program. A big focus on that program is international trade fairs, looking at introducing the South African designers as a South African brand to international markets. That begins to roll out sometime in the next 2 months or so. A lot of the other additional projects that we're looking at, I think, fashion weeks are a part of our program, but the big part is about entrepreneurial development.
And you say it's not just about the design of the clothes, but it's about the whole value chain of fashion. So, touching on that, what do you believe in terms of manufacturing of the clothes? Does the Cape Town Fashion Council promote local manufacturing and not just local design, because the apparel industry is struggling to retain jobs?
We run a brand called WOZA, which means Wear Only ZA, and that encourages people to buy local and buy South African. It's not that we could buy everything that is South African. I think it's just to conscientize people on buying South African. A lot of the manufacturing and the designer selections that we work with are very critical that the designers has the value chain in place, ensuring that he has the partnerships with the manufacturer, with the sourcing agents, so that he can participate at Fashion Week issues.
You told me that there was an issue in terms of local manufacturing in the skills for developing that higher end product.
I think the skills area, I think there's a big drive that needs to happen as to the manufacturing area. I think a lot of the skills that are in the current manufacturing, the skill set that's available right now is fading, and a lot of them are aging, and they're going to probably be growing out of the industry, and there's not a lot of younger people feeding into the manufacturing sector, which is a bit of a worry.
This is a worry. Is there any programs in place to address this kind of issue?
I think organisations like Clotex, provincial government's funding a big drive to assist that process, and I think through organisations like Clotex, which manages the manufacturing arm of the clothing sector, they are putting quite a big skills development drive into trying to get younger people into the business.
Looking now at the current state of the economy, it seems that we are coming out of a downturn, but how did that economic downturn affect the fashion industry? Were there any noticeable changes?
I think our industry is pretty insular, and I think it's comparatively, I think more the Chinas of the world and the bigger countries that tended to be affected by, I think the bread and butter one is one of the big retail trade shows in Europe. I think they had a bad season, this past season. And I think our advantage is that I think we shift away from competing with the East and competing with fast fashion. Our focus needs to be more on value-added design, and global trends are shifting now more towards looking at people wanting to buy individual products, and it's more towards individualism, fair trade, sustainability, and those are key things that we have an advantage right now and we should capitalize on.
Finally, give us an overview of Cape Town Fashion Week and why should people come and visit it?
Well, I think it's an opportunity for everybody to see what South African designers are doing. I think and it's growing, and it's I think the part of this year is going to be the start to the focus for 2014, where it's going to be a lot bigger and better. I think 2014 is just going to be the kickstart of what we're trying to do in the Western Cape. I think fashion is going to be playing a key role, and it's a key sector in the Western Cape and has been for the past 50 years. So I think it still will have a bigger role to play moving forward.
Are we going to see a big build up to 2014? Because of course Cape Town is now the World Design Capital for that year.
There will definitely be a big build up to 2014. I think with the planning and the strategies that we're looking forward for fashion alone, I think there's some big names that will be coming down to South Africa to grow the brand as a South African brand, South African fashion brand internationally.